Hi guys, Ms. Perullo again. I don't know about you, but I to make sure I'm not wearing the same hoodie every video I make. I'm switching things up, making sure it stays fresh. I noticed that a lot of you did edit your responses on the Padlets. I appreciate it. You got it. You put in exactly what I was looking for, the adjective and some pointed evidence. Great. Thank you for going back and making those edits. I also realized I don't think I put out a video where I reviewed your responses to Chapter 1. A few things I want to touch upon that I think were notable. The fact that Amir, book starts December of 2001, and Amir is 38 years old, so he's a grown man. There's first person and second person point of view used in that first paragraph. Most of the novel is first person point of view, and that's very interesting because first person narration, as you know, really isn't reliable, and it's something we have to consider, particularly in this exposition of the story when Amir is young and we see Baba, his father, through his eyes. Is it accurate? Yes, we have some textual evidence. Hey, if I didn't see him pulled from my wife with my own eyes, I wouldn't believe he was my son. Certainly when we have quotes like that and dialogue like that, it supports our first person's perspective. A lot of people did miss the question about the metaphor in that second paragraph of Chapter 1. Metaphor was describing the past as an animal or a beast, and the fact that the past claws its way out. The phrase that Amir repeats that was so significant in the first chapter was the first line and the last line of the very short chapter. I became what I am today. I became what I am today. The inference there is that it's very negative. He's filled with self-loathing, with guilt. It's certainly not a positive image. It's not someone who's, hey, I got where I am today. It's, again, negative. The end of the first chapter, I asked you about the quote, looking back now, I realize I've been peeking into that deserted alley for the last 26 years. This tells us that he never moved on, whatever happened in the winter of 1975. And I also had you question about whether or not it's something that he should or could be held accountable for. He describes himself, first we know he's 12 years old. I asked you to reflect. Are 12-year-olds responsible for their actions? Are they legally responsible? No, not in any country. Certainly, brain development hasn't completed. They're still, by and large, young kids. The fact that he's crouching tells us that he was scared. So whatever happened in the winter of 1975 that made him this beast that he is today, created all this guilt, he was 12 years old and he was scared. He also tells us that he carries this guilt when he says, I knew it wasn't just Rahim Khan on the line. It was my past of unatoned sins. Again, there's so much guilt. Something else interesting. So we have this character, Rahim Khan, calling from the past, someone he's known his entire life. If Rahim Khan is telling him there's a way to be good again, obviously, this is a character who knows what happened. So moving forward, you guys will be reading chapters 5, 6, and 7 independently. Some things to pay attention to. We get introduced to a character, Asef. I really want you to hone in on the imagery used, the inferences made regarding this character. There's a lot of foreshadowing. Every time you see something that you think is possible foreshadowing, make note of it. There's also symbolism. The development of the pomegranate tree, which the boys have already gone to in chapter 4, is further substantiated as a significant symbol in the novel. So pay attention to when that's referenced. Pay attention to the development of Hassan and Amir's relationship. And in a similar fashion, it's really significant to note how many times the author is referencing the pervasive racism that exists in Afghanistan. While we don't see any evidence of it in this particular household, everywhere Amir goes, his classmates, his schoolmates, shopkeepers, you name it, there is evidence of severe racism. Also pay attention, particularly when you get into chapter 6, Amir's need for Baba's approval. It's real, it's tangible. He's a kid. He's not needy. I've noticed some people are responding on Padlets that he's a little whiny, perhaps. I think that's being harsh. Amir doesn't have a mom. Baba is all he has, and Baba does push him away. They don't have the same interests. He's not supportive of his son, really. He doesn't make time for him. So understand it's really significant how hard the author is working to make sure we understand how life or death, pretty much, Baba's approval of Amir has become for him. And certainly, when we get into chapter 6, there's going to be some really vivid imagery surrounding the description of kite running and these kite tournaments. Make note of it. Make note of what these kite tournaments are compared to. Make note of how this extended metaphor is developed throughout the chapter. Chapter 7 is a difficult chapter to read. We'll talk about it some after you've read it, but it is a difficult chapter to read. I will tell you that chapter 7 is the winter of 1975, so whatever he's referencing in the beginning of this novel, it's about to happen. What is really interesting to note from a plot development perspective is that this monumental incident is happening. It's only chapter 7. Take a look at how many more pages are left in the novel. So clearly, this is not necessarily the turning point of the novel. The exposition ends by the end of chapter 4, so we have our characters set, we have our settings set, we have our conflict in place. Enjoy reading. If you have any questions whatsoever about any of the reading at any time, leave a comment on Classroom. Send me, because I do get those right away, send me an email, whatever the case may be. I hope you're well. And the sun is out right now, so I'm going to try to get outside and enjoy some fresh air. I hope you do too. Bye-bye.